Hello everyone and welcome to Geopolitical Trends. As an analyst, I ask, what is the significance of the recent trip by the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to China? In this video, I'm going to provide you my own assessments and place this within the geopolitical and economic context. Let's dive in. Recently, the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad visited China to attend the opening ceremony of the 19th Asian Games in Hangzhou, which started on September 23rd, which was last Saturday. Yet the focus beside the games was on the nature of Assad's political dimension to the visit, which aimed at one particular objective there, as securing financial support from China. And the purpose is to rebuild his devastated country following a decade-long civil war, in addition to having Syria being isolated due to the sanctions imposed by the United States and the collective West. So it has been reported that President Xi and President Assad met in the eastern Chinese city on Friday, September the 22nd, which is the day before the official start of the games. So when they met there, President Xi stated, and I quote, "Today we will jointly announce the establishment of the China-Syria strategic partnership, which will become an important milestone in the history of the bilateral relations," end of quote. Very interesting statements from President Xi. He also added, President Xi that is, he added, and I quote, "Faced with an international situation full of instability and uncertainty, China is willing to continue work together with Syria, firmly support each other, promote friendly cooperation, and jointly defend international fairness and justice," end of quote. Yeah, these are very interesting statements. They are interesting, but at the same time, well measured. And to me as an analyst, this is an indicating how much China is interested in Syria. Yes, Syria is also interested in China, but China is interested in China for two main reasons. One is economic, the other one is political or geopolitical, that is. So I'm gonna break it down for you guys for these two elements. So from an economic perspective, what comes to mind right off the bat? The BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative. So given Syria's strategic location, especially access to the eastern side of the Mediterranean Sea, so anytime you have access to water is very, very beneficial. Mind you also that Syria has signed a memorandum of understanding back in 2022 on China's Belt and Road Initiative. So Syria wanted to be part of the BRI. As the country, Syria that is, was seeking post-war reconstruction. So what's interesting, and I remember this one, and I will provide you, of course, the links to all this. What's interesting about this is that the signing took place at Syria's Planning and International Cooperation Commission in Damascus and was attended by Fadi Khalil, who was the head of the commission, but also was attended by the Chinese ambassador to Syria, Mr. Fang Biao. That's what I found very, very interesting. So recently, and as I said, Syria joined the BRI initiative, a move that I say it's reflecting China's growing interest in the Middle East. Because I'll tell you why as I move forward here, so I don't want to spoil it for you. So, because here's the thing, through BRI, China has been investing in and building infrastructure on several continents. As you know, Latin America, Africa, some parts in even within Asia. So, and this is to realize for China, to realize its vision of land and sea trade routes linking Asia to the rest of the world. And this is, by the way, what the G20 wants to come up with, the corridor to counter the BRI, which I don't see will work anyway. So here's the thing. And again, as an analyst, you have to think in terms of those moves or those decisions don't happen in a vacuum. So by staking its claim in Syria, China can increase its influence in the Middle East. And because China realized its goals of reestablishing its ancient Silk Road trade route, but also gaining additional energy sources. Remember, Syria is an oil producer, not at the same capacity like Iraq or Saudi Arabia or Iran, but it is an oil producer. So that's from the economic aspects of it. From the political or geopolitical aspects of it, Beijing, remember, Beijing brokered the deal that saw longtime rivals, regional rivals in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Iran, agree to restore ties and reopen their respective embassies. Well, what was interesting about this? Right after this, it was followed by Syria's return to the Arab League, or because there's the Arab League, because Syria was expelled after the civil war started. So that's what was interesting. So the return of the Syria to the Arab League at a summit that took place in Saudi Arabia in May, so a few months ago. And this, with accepting Syria back, ending more than a decade of regional isolation, because Syria was isolated originally. Of course, the US was very furious about this, but US can't do squat about it. So here's the thing. The West, mainly the United States, is not very liking this rapprochement between China and Syria, given how China and Russia, remember, if you have to go back a little bit in history here, Russia and China both vetoed any US proposal at the UN Security Council to send international troops to Syria, or foreign troops, that is, to Syria during the beginning of the civil war. So China and Russia always vetoed that one. It was about 8 times the US proposed that, if my memory serves me well. So as we all know, the US was trying to remove Assad from power, but it failed miserably because he is still in power. And don't forget about Russia's role into all this, because Russia has major interests in Syria. As a matter of fact, that's why Russia sent its troops to Syria to stabilize and keep Assad in power. Russia also has a naval base in Tartus, which is access to the Mediterranean. So Russia's interest in Syria and the Middle East writ large, for that matter. So I have argued this back then, that Russia's geopolitical strategy comes not only through Syria, assuming that Assad stays in power, which is, he is in power, that was my argument back then, but also through Iran. This is what explains the defense minister Shoigu's recent visit last week to Iran. So could this explain why, for example, in order to bolster its presence in the region, Russia forged an alliance with Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Hezbollah? And the answer is yes. So to me, that's how I see it. So with the changes taking place, the geopolitical changes that is taking place on the global stage, one can conclude that the United States era in the Middle East is coming to close. So what do you think? Make sure to leave me some comments in the comment section. I always like to read your feedback. And by the way, I'll be happy to do or elaborate on this topic in more details in a live stream. Just let me know in the comment section. If you like the content of this video, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. I will greatly appreciate it. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time. Bye-bye.